Hey, what's up YouTube? Today's just going to be a quick video here just to update you about a vehicle that my younger brother purchased. It's a 1983 Oldsmobile 98, and I believe it has 54,000 and some miles on it, original miles. It's in really great shape. He actually purchased it off of a friend of his. Here, I'll just try to stand back and give you a quick view of it. It has the 307 Oldsmobile engine in it, with the 200, I think it's the FR is what they consider it, transmission, with overdrive. It has the power windows, power locks in it. The only thing I had to do to it, because the underneath is actually in exceptionally good shape, was the only thing I actually had to do was the brake lines on it, because the brake lines were rusted from sitting. Past year or two, it's only put 20 miles on it, the previous owner. So it's the Regency Brougham, I think is how it's pronounced. So has a neat little wheel covers here, as you can see on the back. Super clean car. I mean, the interior is in exquisite condition. I mean, it's in great condition here. Try to give you a little view here. I mean, even the seats are nice and plush still. There's no holes. The previous owner also paid to have the headliner redone on it at one point in time. Has the body by Fisher, which any of you GM guys are familiar with that. That's who used to manufacture the bodies on cars during these days. It's a little side light. Like I said, it's in really good shape. I actually really like the car a lot. Took it for a drive the first or second time after I saw it, and did the brake lines for my brother on it, and I must say, I was actually quite impressed. The only odd thing that we had ran into was, and once again, I don't know if this is from sitting or my brother was doing something with the carburetor. I think he put a new air filter in it and was messing around up there, and after he was doing that, it seemed like the vehicle had quit shifting. Did not want to come out of first gear until you were almost doing like 35 miles per hour and the engine was revving. So did some research online and found out that there's a cable called a TV cable, which also links up to the carburetor and interlinks into the actual throttle cable. And what that does is it controls a lever on the side of the transmission, which I'm assuming changes the vacuum in the transmission to engage the different shift points. So did some adjustments. A gentleman had replied to me on ericthecarguy.com. There's a forum on there, and he was nice enough to reply to me about it and gave me some information on it and also some information about the transmission. And we were able to go ahead and make those adjustments and got it to shift again. The only thing that we are concerned about is that the coming out of first, going into second, still feels a little sloppy, especially if you are accelerating a little bit more harder than a normal acceleration. Like if you have to pull out at an intersection fast to merge onto traffic, it does have a little bit of a kind of like a delay, and then it just kind of punches at the end of the shift. So it's like a delayed shift and then it punches, but it does engage. Now if you pull out easily and average pull out where you go to accelerate, it does not do this. It seems to shift just fine. Now we did drop the pan on the transmission, put new fluid, new filter, new gasket on it. It seemed to improve the shift a little bit. Now when I did that, the only thing I thought was odd, it was definitely changed at one point, the fluid, because it had a Fram filter in it. So that was a key sign right there that it wasn't the original fluid since 1983. So it definitely had been changed at one point, but like I had said, there seemed to be something going on there. Now I checked the governor cable that's inside there. Some people mentioned that. It looked to be perfectly fine. I put a new filter, new gasket, and filled the fluid up. It took about 6 quarts when I dropped it and filled it, so I was happy with that. That means I got a lot of the fluid out of it. And we'll go ahead and pop the hood here so I can show you the engine. It's the fun part. Let's see here, where's the hood release? Here it is. So like I said, I went ahead and did that. Seemed to help a little bit, but still doesn't feel quite right. I'm personally not that worried about it. I have felt transmissions when they're going bad, and in my opinion, it doesn't really feel like, oh, it's a heavy hood, doesn't really feel like it's necessarily going bad, but it also doesn't quite feel right either, so I'm not overly concerned about it, but it is something that eventually I'd like to look into and see if we can resolve something with that if it does seem to become a problem. But for now, we've been just driving it easily, so, and babying it, which you should. I mean, this isn't like a hot rod, this is, you know, just a cruiser. So this is the 307 Oldsmobile engine here. The AC works too on it. It's already been converted over to the R134, which was nice. So, oh, and as far as the actual condition of the fluid, this is kind of in reply to the gentleman on Eric the Car Guy that replied to me. The fluid did look a little dark. It was definitely not like pink or transparent like, you know, new transmission fluid is. But I mean, keep in mind, I mean, this car is pretty old, and who knows when it was last changed, and what kind of driving habits the previous owner had in it, that we're all unsure of. But as far as like friction material, there was friction material in the pan, but to be honest, it didn't really look like all that much. I mean, I've done several fluid changes on transmissions over the years, you know, specifically with GMs, where I've had to drop the pan and put new filter, new gasket, and stuff like that in. And I've seen friction material a lot worse than that in newer vehicles that don't have any shifting problems. So it just seemed like an average amount, just a little bit of dark friction material, which we just wiped out with a rag and used some brake cleaner to clean the pan up real good and put a new fresh gasket on it. And like I said, it didn't seem that, you know, on average. So the other thing too was I was concerned about was there's no magnet in the transmission pan. I don't know if maybe they just didn't put one during these years. That I'm unsure of. I'm definitely not the transmission expert, but there was no magnet in the pan, so I don't know if that's going to pose an issue or not. I'm not, once again, worried about it, because eventually, if it is supposed to have a magnet, we're going to be changing the fluid again here soon, probably next summer, just to try to cycle out the rest of that fluid and give it a good helping hand, since not all the fluid gets flushed when you just do a pan drop. There's still a lot of fluid that remains inside the torque converter and throughout the case and the valve body of the tranny, so a good portion of it we got out with the pan, but I'm sure that when we do it again next time, we'll get the rest of it out, and most of the fluid in there will be new then after that. So, but the gentleman that I'm referring to also mentioned that it might have been changed, the transmission, because there's a plug on the side, right on the driver's side of the, right above the actual pan, on the actual case of the transmission, where somebody had cut the connector off the wire harness and unplugged it and then put glue over it. So not real sure what that's for. I don't know if that's some type of overdrive lockup for the torque converter, or what exactly that functions for. And he speculated too that it might have been changed, his tranny. It might not be the original, but if you follow the harness back, it appears it goes into the main wiring harness of the actual vehicle, the plug that's hanging off the side of the tranny. So that I'm kind of confused on. If that's not supposed to have a wire there, then why is there a harness going down there with it cut off? So that's where I'm a little confused. But like I said, I'm not worried about it. It does engage into overdrive without any problem at all, and drives perfectly fine, you know, down the road outside of that slight delay shift. So I'm going to try to get under here and just show you that plug. I don't know if I'll be able to get under the car far enough to get enough light. So we're coming down here on the driver's side, so let's see if I can get under here and show you where that plug is here. But we'll try. Alright, so let's see if that'll zoom in, or that light will focus or not, but the plug is actually right there on the side of the tranny where you can see the glue. And the harness is got some tape on it, and it runs up there. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not too sure what that's for, but like I said, I just wanted to show that to you there. That's good. I don't see any leaks. I got these all torqued down properly with the new gasket. So that's good. It's a good thing. But the frame and everything else under this vehicle are in excellent condition. You know, there's no holes in the body, no, you know, rust. The only rust on the car, there's a couple little surface spots which are on the side right here, like right here and here, which I'm going to try to fix them up, or my brother may even take care of that. And then there's this plastic shield guard that kind of hangs in here that's all cracked up. just kind of loose in here. I don't know if that's from probably just age, you know. The chrome is in fantastic shape. I mean, if you look at that chrome, you can see yourself in it. Really got to see this car in person to get a real appreciation for the condition that it's in. So, but yeah, very impressive. Like I said, I'm very happy with this. I think he's going to serve him well, and I don't think it's going to give him any problems. So, like I said, just wanted to give you a quick video, and of course we'll do a startup for you too. It hasn't been ran in a couple days because I think he's out of town. So, I'll have to give it a couple pumps here to get it started. Let me climb in here. Find the keys. I know I have them on me somewhere. I just put the windows down. It's about 90 degrees out today, guys. So it's kind of hot. So as you can see there, if that'll pick up or not, 54,767 miles. Needs some belts, but to be expected, you know. I mean, heck, when you get, I mean, a car's, like I said, it's from 1983, and I'm sure the belts are probably the original. The only other thing that is happening, which he has a little piece of electrical tape over it, is it does have a check engine light, which from what we did has one of the early OBD1 systems, I guess, when they first came out, and the only thing we could come up with was the mixture control solenoid inside the carburetor. So we're going to do some research on how to replace that. You can definitely smell that it's running a little rich. So so we want to get that taken care of, obviously, so we'll be able to get it to legitimately pass emissions, because unfortunately where I live in Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, they still require emissions on this vehicle. So but the power windows and power locks and everything all work on it, but they all fully function. It's got the original radio tape deck in it. The clock works on it. So, runs really good. We'll just take it for a quick ride around the block here. It's definitely a boat. We also have a 72 Grand Prix that we drove around a lot, and so driving this doesn't bother me because I've had a lot of practice driving bigger vehicles. Pedal still feels a little mushy, but from what I understand, the previous owner said they always felt that way. I may still have a little bit of air in the line since I did all the brake lines on it. Had to do the front brake lines and patch a section of the rear brake line. I didn't have to do it the whole way back. I just had to do a section where one of the braces hangers hold it in the back. See, that shift you probably couldn't hear because I was flapping my lips, but that shift was perfectly fine coming into second out of first, but that's also because I'm not really romping on it. If I definitely accelerate harder, you'll see what I mean. I don't even know if the camera will pick it up because this car runs so quietly. Very, very nice vehicle though. Like I said, I told my brother if he ever gets rid of it, he better let me know. I'm gonna see if we can pull out a little harder so you can hear that shift. See, it was perfectly fine there. It seems like once it warms up, before it did it all the time, but after we did the fluid change in it on the transmission, it seems like that slip and then kind of hit hard after it slip shift only starts up once the vehicle warms up a little bit. A little squirrel on the road. This thing here would annihilate, pulvate that thing. Yeah, so that issue with the that shifting seems to be worse once it warms up, if that has any help. But it definitely downshifts fine too. It just downshifted right there with no problem because we're going up an incline. Sounds good. Engine's quiet. Changed the oil in it. We just put 10W30 in it. Wasn't really sure how many quarts it was supposed to take. The book I have, which is a Haynes book, said 5 quarts for the or the 307, but we looked it up at Advanced Auto in their computer, and it said 4 quarts. So I think my brother only put 4 quarts in it, and it was full, so we'll go with that. The book also said it was only supposed to be 3.5 quarts that come out whenever you do a flush on the pan, when you drop the pan for the tranny, but ended up needing 6 quarts. So like I said, I don't know. Don't have very much documentation for this car. Definitely a nice car to drive. I really enjoy it. It's nice too because the AC actually works in it, so keeps you nice and cool. I'll just go down this road here. I'll make a right down here, and we'll just turn around and then take it back. But the brakes are squeaking. There are brake pads, a lot of brake pad actually, but the rotor's got a little bit of surface rust on it from sitting, and the pads being as old as they are, I think they got kind of glazed over a little bit from trying to cut through that rust that was on it from sitting for so long. So a lot of these issues that he's been having with this vehicle is really related just to not being driven enough. You know, the previous owner, I guess he just lost interest. And a really nice kid that owned the car. We really, you know, he's a really good friend of my brother's, but he had a truck and he works a lot, so he really just kind of lost interest in this vehicle, and not driving it is really probably what's caused a lot of the issues, such as the brake lines needing replaced and from sitting and moisture and stuff, and also, you know, the transmission shifting issue I really feel was related to that too, because it didn't do that before. It's sad. I've had that happen to me too with other General Motors cars. I had a 1989 Buick Regal 3.1 multi-port, had the Hydromatic 4-speed with the overdrive in it, and I had purchased a new car because obviously it was old and needed a lot of work and had a lot of miles, and I just kept it as a secondary weekend driver, you know, just something to keep the miles off my new car, just to drive around town in. And after I let it sit for over the winter and went to drive it, it started having difficulties coming out of first. It would rev really, really high until it would come out of first, until it warmed up to operating temperature, and even then it seems like the shifts were slightly delayed. And then after that I started losing third gear. Third gear was pretty much shot and gone. I put some Trans-X in that, which, by the way, if any of you wonder, if you want some temporary time to buy you, or to buy you some temporary time on a transmission, I've had 2 success stories with, it's called Trans-X. You can get it probably for between $7 and $12, depending on where you pick it up at, the auto parts, and dump that in your transmission. Drive it for about 100-150 miles, and a lot of times your transmission will start shifting again if it's a clutch related issue, or a seal issue with the hydraulic. Excuse me, really dry today. But yeah, it's very enjoyable to drive. I'm gonna take care of those brakes eventually. We'll just put some new rotors and some new front wheel bearings in it, and throw some nice pads on it, and call it a day on that. I haven't even pulled the back wheels yet, so I'm not even sure what the condition of the back wheels look like yet. I haven't even looked at them for the drum brakes, so that's on the list. And there's also a little bit of a leak on the seal going into the rear end where the drive shaft goes in, so I'm gonna need to replace that. And when I do that, I'm also gonna obviously drain and refill the fluid on the rear end too, because I guarantee you that's probably never been done. I'd be really surprised if anybody's out taking the time to do that. So that should definitely make it cruise a little smoother too. It's got crappy old dry rotted tires on it because, once again, it's been sitting. So I think once we get the tires done and the rear end seal replaced and the fluid flushed on that, then it's pretty much good to go. Throw some tires on it. And the brakes, I might even just tell them to wait off until next year for that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the brakes. They're just noisy because of being old and that rust buildup on it that was on the rotors. So this is it. This is the Oldsmobile boat. Anybody's interested, I got a 1981 Pontiac Grand Prix that we're pulling up behind right now that's for sale. It needs an engine, had a 231 V6 in it, has shifter in it, and engine blew, and it's been sitting since 97, I want to say. And it was in the garage for several years, just sitting in the garage, so it wasn't outside the entire time. I don't know what exactly the rear end looks like. I know it obviously needs an exhaust and stuff, but it had the 231 in it. But the interior in this is really nice as well, as you can take a look there. I mean, the interior is actually in really great condition. Even the back seat and everything looks really good in this car. Still got a lot of flush there. It's not dry rotted or really sun rotted or anything. Has forget the mileage, 127,783 is the mileage on it. And like I said, it hasn't been driven since 97 when the engine blew. And I don't know, I'm assuming the intakes went on. It has the 231, which from what I understand is related to the what they consider the 3.8 liter. So this is the engine that's in it. It started, originally when we bought it, it had an engine tap with the lifters, and then it started blowing oil up through the carburetor. We drove it like for probably almost a year and a half, 2 years, and then eventually it started overheating and never really seemed to get any coolant, any oil or anything like that. So I'm really not sure if it was a head gasket issue or if it's just the rings went and it wasn't getting any compression. Really have no idea. I was a lot younger at the time, so I didn't really have that much auto experience back then. But like I said, this it needs an engine. From what I understand, you can put a 305 in here, from what I understand. Might even be able to put a 350 in here, but you'd probably have to change the rear end for that. As far as overall vehicle, I mean, it's not in terrible shape. I don't believe the frame has any holes or major rust. I'm sure it's probably going to need fuel lines and brake lines more than likely, you know, in order to actually get back on the road again. And obviously a good sand and paint job would help. There's you know, those types of things, but that's, you know, that's what happens when it's 1981, you know. So this is the front end of it here. The has the, I think these are the Rally 1 wheels, I believe they're considered. This one here just it's got a bad seal on it, so that tire needs resealed again. The tires are old too, but I think they're the Rally 1s. Has your typical hole down here, which they all get, you know, but as far as floor pans and everything, as far as I know, it's all solid. So, but other than that, that's it. Thanks for watching.